This video is going to show how to get the Buried Bloodline Catalyst solo. Just a warning before I go into this, if you're somebody that struggles with solo content already, this isn't for you. Just go and get a fire team and do it. For most people, just go and get a fire team and do it. Honestly, save yourself trouble, because this is actually more difficult than what I was anticipating. So I had Buried Bloodline, but I didn't have the catalyst, and I knew that I needed to get the catalyst before Into the Light, and I just want to tie up some loose ends from this season. However, once doing some research, I discovered that I haven't found one single video of anyone soloing this catalyst, as in complete the puzzles, defeat boss to get the catalyst. And I was like, why is that? So once I've actually done some practice, I can see why no one has, because it's a little bit tedious. But I'm going to go through it anyways, because I've soloed it, so I may as well make a video about it. So the weapon in question, obviously it's Buried Bloodline, right? It's a very important weapon because it's a void exotic sidearm that grants Devour. This is very important to the game, because if you're using a class with no restoration or health regen, for example Stasis, you can run a Stasis Sharebinder or a Stasis Behemoth with Devour. Because it gets Devour anyways, but the Catalyst goes a step further. And you can then weaken enemies and all this stuff. So the Catalyst is totally worth it. And Bloodline is a very, very good weapon. Watch its power come up after Solar Season ends. So this is a very important weapon. Very important to get the Catalyst. So I can't understate that. But that's why it's so important. Because you can grant Devour on classes that don't have health regen. You need to do the puzzles in Warlord's Ruin, right? Which there are 3 sets of puzzles in Warlord's Ruin that you're going to have to complete, and then there's a boss at the end that you need to kill to get the catalyst to drop. So if you're struggling with Warlord's Ruin anyways, I don't recommend this to you, but just to quickly run over it, to get past the first 2 bosses, you don't need to kill the final boss, but you do need to kill the first 2 bosses. I used the loadouts you can see here. A Karnstein Armlets build with Solar Hand Cannon, Strand Fusion, Dragon's Breath. We then swapped off to Dawn Chorus Daybreak for DPS with Surges, and we do a Surge switch like this. So if you're somebody that's struggling with just the general of killing the bosses solo in Warlord's Ruin, then I've got videos on that. I'll maybe link the Warlock one that I'd done a couple of months ago or whenever it was. But you're going to have to kill the first 2 bosses solo, so that's the loadouts I used. When we get to the boss, however, the loadout has to be different. So I used Witherhoard, Hand Cannon, and a Eager Edge Sword with Karnstein Armlets. We then swapped to a Daybreak Dawn Chorus Super with some kinetic surges and stuff. It's going to look confusing the loadout, but once you see the run, it's gonna make sense why I ran what I did. So those are the loadouts. So once you've killed the first boss and done the jail encounter, this is the first set of puzzles that you're going to be doing. In the jail encounter, you're going to encounter an orb that you need to shoot and destroy and then cap 3 plates. Because you're solo, this is actually really difficult to cap 3 plates. To note, it takes 8 seconds per cap. That's 24. You get 29 seconds total. 5 to 6 seconds of getting to each plate is actually really tight. So eager edging around is going to be really good. I didn't do it on this first puzzle because you don't need to. Like, look at the time, and as long as I get to the last scorn trap for 8 seconds, I'm good. The rotation that you just saw is what you want to do. Any other rotation of doing capping on the points is going to be difficult for you. So I would just recommend you do that until you get Buried Bloodline clicks audibly. That means it says that you've done it correctly. You might get it the first go, the second go, it's up to RNG. So basically we're going to ignore the mechanics and just cap the plates that we can. That's essentially what we're doing. So the bridge section, same thing. The scorn cap points are on the edges, on little bits of rock. So it's difficult to cap them because, like I say, you've only got so much time. That rotation that you can see on the left hand side there is actually the rotation that we need for solo. So you just keep doing it until you get it. Essentially, it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to get it. If it's longer than 10 minutes for you to get the right rotation, you're getting bad luck. Alright, so I think it took me about 5 to 10 minutes to get this rotation, and then it's easy. Final set of traps, same thing again. There's only really one rotation of scorn traps that we can collect. So once you shoot orb, this trap will spawn on top of you. That's good. We're going to cap that one really quick. That's good. Then we're going to do a jump across here. Make sure you don't fall off map, unless obviously you're going to mess it up. This is the second scorn trap that you can cap solo, and then the final one is up ahead. You can't do any of a rotation reliably without dying. So just do the rotation I'm showing you. If it fails, you'll just redo it until you get it. Same thing again. It shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to get this. I told you from the start, this is very tedious, and it's not for everybody. Once you've done that, you'll kill enemies up ahead, and then there'll be a taken portal that you can enter to spawn in the boss for the catalyst. The boss is a primeval wizard, a taken enemy. This is a taken room. It's a very small room. There's going to be 6 scorn traps total and 6 fire spear things in middle. The ones that glow, that are on fire, are telling you which trap to get. So for example, if it's mid left, it's mid scorn trap. If it's top left, it's top left scorn trap, and so on and so forth. Really straightforward, right? But what's not straightforward is to cap all 3 plates solo, and I found this to be difficult. That's why I've got an eager edge sword on, which did save me. If you get a good rotation, like 3 left, 3 right, then you don't need to eager edge about. If you get 2 left, 1 right, you definitely do. The kill trigger for the scorn traps is the double knights. Once you kill the final knight, you then get the scorn traps to spawn in. However, if you don't get a good rotation and you're not looking at your scorn trap placements right away, then you need to refresh. Imminent Wish will start as soon as you kill that knight, so you need to be right on it. That's why we let Witherhoard kill the knight to look into middle, to then start capping our first play as soon as possible. The quicker we are on the first scorn cap, the increased chance of success of getting to DPS. Because we will not get to DPS until we do this. It's so strict. You get 30 seconds, 29 seconds. You don't get a lot of time, so this is really difficult to get to damage. That's why we've got Eager Edge Sword on. We are going to surge switch. We've got Can't Stay in Armlets on to stay alive. Yeah? And then we surge switch to a different build with Dawn Chorus. So we'll Witherhoard Knight. I believe on this time we do get the traps. So we're actually already on the trap we need to be. So it's bottom and top right, and then it's mid left. Eager Edge will help us, but it will also go against us because of sword tracking. That's what makes it so difficult. But get off the trap as soon as it's capped. Remember, 8 seconds. Keep an eye on your left hand side timer. Make sure you've got restoration going, right, to stay alive. We're going to surge switch before DPS. Make sure that you do that as well, no matter what build you're on. Okay, DPS will start if you get the empowerment buff. We'll Witherhoard debuff, and then super. This boss is actually really tanky and difficult to damage, by the way, because Thrall are on you at all times. The arena is up against you. You can't sword the boss, but we need the sword on for Eager Edge. So it's a little bit of a nightmare. Really difficult to damage, honestly. That's what makes it so difficult, though. We'll surge switch back to Can't Stay in Armlets, back on our survivability build with a restoration. A couple of people have mentioned that restoration is now buffed. They changed restoration. You now get more restoration seconds based on what enemy type you kill. If you kill anything other than a red bar, you get more time. The problem with that is an actual nerf, because when you're up against a lot of minor enemies and you want a restoration chain kill, you will lose your time in the end because you don't get much payback off minor enemies anymore. This is actually worse. I think restoration feels worse than what it did. However, it's still amazing. It's still OP in the game. I'm just saying that people are saying it's buffed. I don't think it is. If you're up against a lot of orange bars, which isn't that frequent, like look at Warlord's Ruin. How many orange and yellow bars are there? 2 captains, right? Check. 2 snipers, 4 enemies. Is that it? Oh, and then two minotaurs that you kill. But you're not killing them the entire time, are you? It's just not happening. So you're killing miners, red bars, in dungeon stuff at least. So Restoration feels worse than what it did for Warlord's Ruin at least. That's what I'm saying. So don't twist my words. Warlord's Ruin feels worse now when we're using Restoration. However, if we pop on Karnstein Armlets, we can get a lot more Restoration now than what we used to. Right? Because on one melee kill you get max seconds. You get 12 seconds Restoration immediately. That's where I think now Restoration's good on its own, but once you start to spec more into it, it becomes even better. And in a Warlock's case, Karnstein Armlets is really good for Restoration builds now. I've been using it for quite some time now. And if it's an exotic that I'm using quite a lot, there's got to be a reason behind it. And it's because of this. It's because you don't have to constantly rely on a healing nade. You could even knock a healing nade off and run a damage style nade. So now that Restoration's been adjusted, I feel as though Warlock mains should be using Karnstein Armlets. I don't see why you shouldn't be, unless you're using Dawn Chorus or some well exotic for DPS, but we can swap loadouts for that. If it's in GMs, well, that's different because it's equipment locked, but not everything's equipment locked in the game, is it? We'll get with a horde, we'll try our best with the super. Believe me, this is awkward because if we stand on the ground, the Thrall will eat our super up and we won't do any damage at all. The sword is useless to us basically because it's a floating wizard, and it really is a floating wizard. So everything's against us for damage. So if you are attempting to solo this, expect to be in here a bit. Expect to be in about 15 minutes at least, unless there's some strategy where we can solo kill her easy with some sort of loadout. Maybe a solo hunter with Celestial Nighthawk may kill her quickly. Maybe you might be able to kill her in 2 phases. I don't know, but the problem is it's not easy to get this checkpoint again. Once you kill boss, there's no experimentation. Right, because it's one of those puzzle bosses. What I would like them to do for any puzzle bosses in any dungeons from now on going forward, can you please give us a node for this? A node on the map of the dungeon. So right next to the dungeon there's another node saying this boss. And you can load up this boss, this fight, and experiment with it. I know that would mean that people would cheese it for catalysts because they could just load it in. But I think there's a way around that. It would mean that you have to do the puzzle for somebody to get the catalyst. Having the node would just be for purposes of testing damage against the boss. That would literally be it. So it wouldn't grant you the catalyst bit is what I'm trying to say. Right. I think it was annoying to me, the fact that we couldn't test loadouts. Because, for example, it's a wizard, right? So Warcliffe Coil sometimes, or Grand Overture, has a bonus against wizard type enemies. For example, Shattered Throne, you can melt the wizard. It's a wizard. You can do massive damage with Warcliffe. I wonder if that's the case with this boss. I don't know for certain because I don't know. I haven't tried it, but it'd be interesting to know that. So let me know on your team runs. Did any of you use Grand Overture or Warcliffe Coil to kill boss? And if so, did it melt? Because it's a wizard. Wizards are buggy in D2 when it comes to that type of damage that I was mentioning. As you can see, the Eager Edge is helping us out really quite a bit. I think it's mid, right mid. Let's see if we get this. I'm going to surge switch. I should get it. Like I said, we're talking seconds here. We actually didn't get that. We're half a second off not cap and plate. We surge switch, but that's fine. We can farm up more orbs. So we've got to refresh and redo it. Like I said at the start of the video, it's tedious. It's not designed to be soloed. It's designed for you to do it in a team. What I would like them to have done though is have independent timers. So solo gets 40 seconds, fire teams get 30 seconds to cap plates. That would have balanced it. I don't think they ever thought that someone would try to solo this or want to. This is just meant to be extra secrets, extra fun to have with the dungeon, and it is fun. I just wish that it wasn't so strict with the plates on the Scorn plates, capping 3 plates in that 29 seconds. It's steep. It's a steep ask. It really is. Because you need to look into mid right away to establish what you need. Eager Edge, as I say, is helping out massively though. And so is Karnstein Armor. It's just showing you how good Karnstein's is. Like, I literally could run Solar Nade, no Healing Nade at all, and I would be good. So there's a lot of power in Karnstein's. It's not just me saying, Karnstein's is kind of good, use it. No, it actually is really good. Use it. We'll get up in the air, try and do as much damage as we can. We're not going to kill here, are we? Because chances of us Witherhoarding this boss... Oh, we got a Witherhoard shot. We are literally good. What is that? No wonder we can't DPS. That there is the exact reason why I don't like using eager edge swords. They just don't work for damage. They're not meant to though either. I understand that. And also, this is footage of me using eager edge swords. Some people think I don't use it. Right? Based on my recommendations for DPS swords. You've got to distinguish the difference between a damage sword and an eager edge sword. They are two different things. Do not use eager edge for DPS. Never. Only use it when you have to in certain scenarios, or if you're trying to do a world record speedrun, which 99% of you are not trying to speedrun and break records in the Guinness Book of World Records, are you? You don't want your name in there. It's too much hassle for you. You just want to get guns and play. You don't need eager edge. You don't need it. I think more of it's about having fun with well skating and all that sort of stuff. But I'm not like somebody who's a big movement tech person. I'm not bothered about it really. I'm bothered about content. I'm bothered about good bosses, good mechanics, more GMs, decent dungeons. Hopefully the new raid's good. The raid gauntlet thing sounds good. I'm more bothered about that stuff. I couldn't care less about movement tech in the game, because at some point they might nerf it, and I would definitely laugh if they did. If they nerfed well skating any time, but they've done it before and they pissed speedrunners off in the past. They'll do it again at some point. If you don't remember the arc sword that could speed, what was the name of the arc sword? The arc sword that we were speedrunning content with. They nerfed it, the way that you could fly with it or skate with it. They nerfed that, and it pissed a lot of people off. People stopped speedrunning because of it. I think if they'd done that again, where they nerfed well skating, it would stop a lot of speedrunners would stop playing like speedrun content because of that. I don't know if they will or not, but they maybe will learn from the lessons and not. But I'm just saying it wouldn't affect me in the slightest if they did. It wouldn't affect me. Eager edge is intended. It's a perk. Is well skating intended? I don't know if it's intended or not, because it's sort of taken advantage of using multiple button presses to confuse the game to go quicker than intended, in my opinion. If I was meching D2, I would nerf that stuff. I would get that stuff out in the game. Just being honest, I would get rid of it. Because you're not playing Sonic on Sega, you're playing D2 on PC. Or D2 on PS5. Or whatever you're playing. We're not playing Sonic 2. We're not 1992. We're 2024 playing a first-person sci-fi shooter. I feel as though, you know, there's an upper limit with movement where at some point, okay, this is a little ridiculous. So we're near the end on the final phase. I believe we're going to get it here. We have. The boss is also shielded. Oh no, the shield come down. I thought it was going to work similar to like a Guardian. But that was a solo getting the Buried Bloodline. It was fun to do, but quite tedious, so I don't recommend to everyone. But it's still decent footage to show. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.